All right. Thank y'all for joining. My name is Andrea Stutt, and I'm an Emerald with Plexus. And I am delighted to have my friend, Annie Weeb. I had to ask her how to pronounce her name because I've been saying it wrong in my head this whole time. And so Annie Weeb is coming and going to share some of her story, but I would like to just open in prayer real quick. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for how you knit our hearts together, Lord, in this community with this company, how you've used it as a vehicle to further your kingdom, Lord. And I just am so grateful for how you cross our paths and how we build each other up and edify one another as we continue to share um, hope for people for their physical health, but then also it gives us an opportunity to show your love and to share your story, Lord. And I just thank you so much for all the blessings you've given us here. And I just pray that this time tonight with our guests will just be fruitful and she will speak to some hearts and that they will receive. In Jesus' precious name, amen. All right. Okay, so I'm going to let Annie talk, but I want to just say, so Annie and I met on Facebook, actually. I don't know how we started following each other, but we did. And we just connected. And then when I went to convention this summer, she saw me and came up to me, and it was such a sweet in-person moment. And she and I have shared a lot of just of what the Lord has done in our lives. She is quite the testimony. I mean, spiritual testimony. So as we were talking, she's also had shared that she's sapphire pushing for diamond. And she does have a background in the Mennonite community. And so she has like an entire, I'll let her tell, an entire jewel leg that's not really on social media, or they've grown differently, a lot of Mennonite and things like that. So I really was like so fascinated. I was like, I'm so fascinated with your team. So she said she'd jump on and just share a little bit, because here's the deal. We all know people that we think, gosh, they would be so awesome at this business, but they're not on Facebook. And so that was kind of like what my heart was in having you share. So I want you to just share where you live, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself, and then go ahead and just share. And I might ask you a question, but I'll let you talk.
All right. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a highlight of convention, was running into you, Andrea, at convention. I was like, oh, I need to take a picture with you. And I never posted it because my bags were the size of Texas that morning. I was looking at that picture today and I'm like, whoo, okay. But anyway,
I can't remember where that picture was. I was like, can I have that picture? We can fix it a little bit. Y'all know I'm not objective to a good filter. Okay, go ahead.
um, so my name is Annie Weeb. I'm a mom of five, and I'm originally from Ontario, Canada. That's where I grew up. That's where we had our first four kids. But we felt the Lord calling us to move to Mexico in 2022. So we did. And we were there for a year. And then we heard God call us to move to Paris, Texas, which is really different for us, right? We came from Canada, now we moved to Mexico for a year, and now we had five babies, right? Now we just had our fifth, and so now we're in Paris, Texas. Just we moved three countries in the last 1.5 years. But through that season, my business still grew. Um, but yeah, so that's my oldest is 14, my youngest just turned 1, and I homeschool. Um, like she said, I have a Mennonite background. Um, but I personally, let me just start with this. A lot of people will say, like, yeah, well, you had a big group of friends. Of course, you have a big family. I come from a big family. Of course, you would hit silver. Of course, you would hit ruby, even because you have such a big circle of friends. Can I share with you? Do you know how many people on my team, my little ones, how many people came from my circle of family or friends? Two. to this day too. Okay. I have 2 level 1s that dared to go on this journey with me. So when they say like you have a big circle, of course you can, like, of course you can. I can't, but of course you can. My team did not grow, and to this day does not grow based on the circle of friends I had. And that's okay. So 99% of my signups have been strangers on Instagram and Facebook. And I have over 200 level 1s. And they are all strangers besides my sister, who I forced to join, and now she's an Emerald. And a friend that just recently messaged me after seeing me for 8.5 years to try it.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, you know, regardless of who you're talking to, social media was the outlet for me. I love social media. Okay. That is where I pour out my heart. I love writing. It's just where I love to be. I don't love in-person things. I love to just sit behind a screen and be myself there. So that is how I built my business, right? Through social media. But like Andrea said, I have a whole leg that is not on social media, and they're pushing for Sapphire. It's a Mennonite background. They don't do social media. So there's lots of questions that they have when they don't want to be on Facebook, even to be in like gut health groups or events or testimonials, right? So that comes with when you don't grow a leg on social media, that you're going to be open to that you're going to find different outlets. You're going to find different things. So one thing we found was Telegram. Because in Telegram, you can post, right? You can post all your things. We have like a gut health group on Telegram. We have a graphics group on Telegram where they can just pull graphics because they're not on social media. They're not a messenger. So those are my things, right? I don't work off of social media. But now I had a whole leg. A lady said, okay, I want to do this business, but we don't have social media. So that's what, and then she's working on WhatsApp, right? Her whole team. So she has 3 Emeralds under her now.
Whoa.
Yeah. So one of them is also not working on social media. She's pushing for Sapphire. And then she has 2 that work scarcely on social media. But they've done it through WhatsApp. The thing about WhatsApp, so I never worked on WhatsApp. I still don't. But the thing about WhatsApp is if you have a group and you do all the great things in there, if you add people, they can't see it unless they're there before you add things. If you have a WhatsApp group, we have a lot of WhatsApp events all happening all the time, right? But if someone joins late, they don't get to see anything. So the beauty of Telegram is they can see all the things even if they join late, right? But this community group that I have that is Mennonite, they don't do Telegram, right? So it's WhatsApp, besides for testimonials. So WhatsApp has been the outlet for them, and they are so successful. When there is Mennonite communities and Mennonite groups, they're very hesitant to let a new person come in. But they have a really strong community within themselves, right? They trust each other, they support each other, they hold each other close, right? But they're very, very hesitant to let someone else in. So when you have that, and you have influence to someone in the Mennonite community or in a community of Mennonite of sorts, they have their communities that they are really true and honorable to. So I find that that's a really good thing because I see that a lot of people and a lot of cultures don't. They don't honor or respect or support their local people or their people of sorts, right? But the Mennonite community really does. So when you have friends that are in the Mennonite community that trust you, and that you know them, right? And they bring it to their friends, that is your source right there. Okay. They would be very hesitant if I just came and expose all my stuff to them. And I hadn't had my level 1 introduce me to them. It will usually have to be one of their people introducing it to them, be within their circle, because they trust them. Now, we're probably all trustworthy, right? We know that we have great work ethic, that we are trustworthy, right? That our integrity, we work with integrity, right? We don't drag the name of Plexus in the sand, right? We honor all that. But they don't know that, right? Mm-hmm. So when you have someone that is not on social media, if you have a community that is not on social media, that doesn't even have email, okay? Most of these people didn't even have email, okay? This lady would keep like a notebook and would have the name and make their emails and a passwords, and she took care of all of that. So yes, it made her workload so much bigger in that sense. But also in a sense, there was no need for social media posting, right? It was a trade-off. She doesn't post on social media. She doesn't go on social media, but then she has this, right? It's not an easier way or a simpler way. It's just another way. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you have someone and you know someone, when you live in Amish communities, we know that they're really open to natural supplements. Mm-hmm. Same with the Mennonite community, like my background. A lot of them are open to natural supplements, right? Because a lot of them have been hurt in the medical field. Now, I know that medical is, when it's needed, it is amazing. It's a gift, right? But a lot of the Mennonites in the community that I came from was really hurt by overprescribing. Mostly in my Mennonite community was antidepressants on moms. Wow. We had like a church of, I would say, 500 couples. And almost every single mom that I talked to was on an antidepressant of some sort. Wow. And I was a crazy one because I was not. Wow. And that just that fires me up. It just fires me up because there would be women, reaching out to me wanting to get off of these, but I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not going to put them in that position. But eventually they got really hurt, right? Now they're open to natural remedies because they've seen how they've been hurt by being overprescribed antidepressants. So in most of like my community where I came from, like I said, most of the moms in my community were on antidepressants to get through the days because most of them had a lot of kids, right? Mm-hmm. Most of them didn't get out. Most of the women in my community didn't have circles of mom friends that would build them up and pray for them and literally help carry the burdens for them, hold their arms up when they couldn't hold them up anymore. They didn't have that. They still, to this day, the community I came from, they don't do that. They also don't know God in a sense of being his friend, right? They see him as an angry man, as a judgmental man, right? They see him as someone that will always just cast down judgment. So when you're at that position, so for my community, when you're in that position, where do you turn to? If you haven't been taught or shown how to turn to God, if you don't have those women in your life that support in your life, if you have a lot of kids and you literally don't know anything, you go to your doctor and they give you antidepressants. Also, the diets were terrible. The only vegetable I ate growing up was a potato. There was no salads, okay? So that is the diet of the Mennonite community that I came from. Tomatoes on burgers and tacos, lettuce on burgers and tacos. But that was the community I came from. Now, there's going to be different Mennonite communities that aren't like that, or different communities that aren't online that aren't like that, right? But that's just where I came from, and that is how the people were. So when you see Mennonite communities, most of the time, you know that they have a tight circle where they stay in, and that they are very hesitant to let someone else in because of danger and trust issues. But if you have that friend that trusts you, then you can introduce that to them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's very interesting. And we do have a couple people on our team that live in areas where there's a lot of, I know an Amish community, and I know, so I'm hoping that she hears this. That my question would be, how did you then connect to your one level one? What were you, can you tell us about that?
Yes, this is a funny story actually. It was through skincare, right? Joyum, a Joyum post. And someone randomly messaged me with no profile picture on Facebook, no friends, and with a very strange name like Crystal Candy or Candy Crystal. Like it was just, I was like, this is a creep. And I tell her this all the time. I wasn't responding to her messages because I didn't know who was behind that name, right? I didn't know there was people. The only people I knew that were on social media that didn't have friends and didn't have profile pictures and had weird names were just not people that
Totally.
were nice. But she was
Exactly.
persistent. I didn't know it was going to be a she, right? Sometimes we have creepy creepers that message us. And and all of a sudden she messaged me again and she wanted a skincare. Um, and we got on a phone call. Okay. And it turned out that wasn't her name. But they weren't allowed to have social media. They weren't allowed to have pictures. If they did have social media, pictures of themselves online. Okay.
Okay.
So she had gone on and somehow she had seen, we weren't friends, but somehow she had seen the Joyum post on Facebook.
Interesting.
So that is how we started. And then she said, and I do not want to do the business.
And here she
I
is.
care, right? I just want skincare. She didn't know about gut health. She didn't know any of that. She just wanted skincare. But then she ordered the triplex with her skincare, and she just started sharing by mouth, right? Because she shared in her community.
Yeah.
So that is how we still joke about this to this day of how we started and how it all
So,
went down. But that is how we found each other.
so
So
she
when
did not know, she did not know that you had a Mennonite background? There
no,
was no connection. Oh, it was just, it probably helped her to trust you more, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't, it didn't matter. That's an interesting connection that you would have that wasn't related to her messaging you though. So, okay. I just assumed that that was how you connected to her. So that's fascinating. Okay. So evidently there are some that will have social media, but it's very limited, evidently. Okay. So, um, yeah. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, did you have to kind of show her like this is what you're going to want to add to, because if she's not on social media that much, she had to have seen some of the way you operated to know what to take over to WhatsApp. I mean, right?
okay.
So,
So she did have social media. I don't want to say in secret, but she didn't have any pictures of herself, right? For the longest time, I didn't know what she looked like, all the things, until we started doing Zooms. But there was no pictures of her, right? She just wanted to, like, not even have friends, just be in the gut health group. So she was open to that.
okay. So she was
But
exposed to everything. Just,
she was exposed to that, but not her following, right?
yeah,
She was going to do this, but not the rest of her team.
I gotcha.
So yeah, we had her, and but she's not in any chats, right? None of our chats, and if she is, she never says anything. She has her own chat on WhatsApp,
Mhm.
and that's where she has her team. And the beauty of another beauty thing of the Mennonite community is they'll also have their own WhatsApp groups for health, um, for patterns, for dresses, for recipes. They have all these groups within their communities. So that is where a lot of our team found their team by
Oh,
strangers groups.
okay. So it's kind of like their version of social media.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of what
Mm-hmm.
it is. Okay. So it's very doable. I mean, because we have a lot of people. I know I've even talked to a lot of people that are like, I really just don't like to use social media. Like they don't like to use it. So I mean, this kind of not blows that whole notion out of the water that you have to have social media to be able to grow an actual team. I mean, if she has 3 emeralds under her, is that what you said?
Yeah.
3. I mean, Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. And then also just the power of your own subculture, if you will. Like everybody's got their circle of people that trust them. And, we've joked about just even the homeschooling community is a little bit of its own subculture, and so I think, I don't know, it just causes you to think outside the box. Like, don't ever say this business is only for one type of person, because obviously it's, and the fact that you have grown 99% of your business from strangers on social media, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is another myth that we can all blow out of the water. And I will say this about Annie. I do encourage y'all to follow her. She has the most beautiful aestheticness. I don't, that's probably not the best word. I love all of your stuff, like her stories. Like you'll just see she's got a really um I wouldn't say she curates it, makes it perfect, but it's just a vibe, and it's really pleasant, and I like it. What's your IG handle? They're asking you what your IG handle is.
Elation Housewife.
Elation Housewife. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And gosh, I just am like so fast. I'm still so fascinated with it. So tell me since we're running toward the end, how would you say, because we have a lot of women on our team that have small children and homeschool. So how long have you been with Plexus? Let me ask you that. Like what was your timeline on your ranking? And then tell us about how you're pushing for Diamond, considering you have 5 children, homeschool, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so I am in February. It's actually going to be 9 years that I've been with Plexus. And I always said, okay, this is where I had a lid on my belief, right? Which we all have some kind of lid that we always need to raise, right? But I had this belief, if I hadn't hit Emerald in 5 years, I was done. Like now it doesn't even make sense to me. Had it even been 20 years, hitting Emerald, it would have been worth it. That income, that freedom, everything. But I said 5 years. I'm giving it 5 years. Well, in the midst of that, we had another baby. We had a miscarriage. And then we had a miracle baby. Oh. So my miracle baby, it was in 2020. And he wasn't supposed to survive outside the womb, is what they told me at 13 weeks pregnant. And if he was, right, he wouldn't survive, or he would be really needing me with everything. Basically, they said a vegetable. And so during that time, when I was 4.5 months pregnant with this miracle baby, and I knew all these things that doctors continually told me, we hit Emerald. And that was 5 years and 2 months.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So had I quit 2 months before?
Yeah.
Because just I think that December, so we hit it in April, just that December, I think I was sitting at 600 and something points.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
So
wow.
Yeah, it was a huge jump in those seasons. And so I would hit, right? So I hit it at 5 years and 2 months. Amazing. And had our miracle baby. And he has some special things about him, and we just absolutely love him. Aww. Well, we ended up selling our house, moving into an RV, and I had another surprise pregnancy when he was 6 months old and miscarried. And that was the time that my 6-month-old had many appointments to this hospital 2 hours away, multiple times a month, for his vision because he was blind until 6 months, and for his other special things. And during this time, I felt God calling me to Sapphire. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm living in an RV with 4 kids, recovering from a miscarriage, continually going 2 hours one way to these special needs doctor appointments. And now you think I can hit Sapphire? Well, we did.
Wow. Wow.
That it was such a miracle testament. I could have said, okay, we all have stories, and I will never discount when someone's going through something hard. I know.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. Mhm.
But when you get called to something like this, you know the favor of God is upon it, and He will bless the work of your hands,
Oh,
and He will bless the work of your team's hands, the work of their hands, right? And there are many seasons I wanted blessings in my hands and I wasn't doing something, right? We go through those seasons where we just don't feel like it. When I was
mhm.
recovering from my miscarriage, and people actually thought it was very selfish of me to still work my business during that time, as if I wasn't caring about it. Um, but where, like, how does it even logically make sense when you're going through something hard to quit everything? That would have not been good for me mentally,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when there's hard times, that's
It's
my
okay.
3-year-old. That's
They're
my
doing,
special.
they're doing great. They've done great. They're special and awesome.
Um, when there's hard times going, we all go through hard times, right?
Yes.
But
Hmm.
that is where you get to have those friends and the team members that will literally, when you can't hold your arms up anymore, like Moses, and that they
Hmm.
will hold your arms up for you, that they will breathe back that life into your dreams that you said. Because when hard times come, you forget those dreams or you think that they don't matter anyway, right? Oh, I didn't really want them anyway, right? We'll start like quitting ourselves. We'll micro quit on ourselves.
Yeah.
So during those times, so you have these trusted friends, this circle of friends or leaders that you trust and that
Yeah.
you know will be there for you, right? I didn't broadcast this to the whole world, what was going on, all the things. I had my trusted circle that when I was forgetting what my goals were, what the goals were that God had laid up on my heart, when I didn't believe in those anymore, I didn't think they mattered anymore, or even I forgot, or I felt like I was drowning in it, that I felt they were dead, that they would breathe life back into that. You need those friends to literally breathe life back into your goals and in your dreams when you can't see it. So, and then we moved and we moved and we moved again. And now we're sitting at wanting to go for diamonds.
That's exciting. And so you just work in between taking care of kids. I mean, like basically.
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
really, are you very regimented with your structure or do you work better differently?
Well, yeah, I have different seasons, right? When we're
Yeah.
not homeschooling during the summer, I'll have my designated hours. And now that we're homeschooling and we have two babies, we're gonna switch, right? It's gonna be an ebb and flow. I'm gonna work here, I'm gonna work here. My team knows that during the homeschool hours, I'm not available,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? To always have my phone on silent has been a huge blessing for me and my family.
Yeah.
But
That's
they do
good.
still have plug into, right? So if they have questions, they know that there is going to be someone that's not homeschooling, right? At that
Yeah.
time, right? Not
Exactly.
just me. So right now we're at an ebb and flow. Whatever pockets I have here, right? My baby just turned 1 and he's going through these things of I don't want to nap this time, right? Like we're going through different things. So I have to keep on rechanging my schedule, all the
Yeah.
things. But it's doable. You find these little pockets of where you can, right? I can either choose to scroll,
Yes.
which a lot of us get caught into that scroll zombie scrolling, right? Telling ourselves we're getting ideas and then we don't get ideas, right?
We're watching all kinds of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Too many reels or whatever.
Truly. And so that is one thing that I had to stop.
Yes.
And sometimes I catch myself doing, I'm like, what am I even doing? Get out of here, right? This is not helping us at all.
Yeah.
That is one thing. And then another thing is sometimes I will schedule out my posts,
Mhm.
like in the weekend. As I'm writing things down, I'll make my reels or I'll get my posts ready, right? And then draft them that they're ready to post, even as I'm running errands, even as I'm going somewhere, even as I'm trying to get my baby to nap, I can just click post, right?
Exactly.
So if you have that time where you can brain dump once a week, brain dump, figure out your schedule, especially if you have a crazy schedule right now and you think you don't have time to post or get post ideas, if you have that 1 or 2 hours a week where you can just brain dump, okay? We all have so much information in our brains. But if we don't brain dump, eventually it gets constipated. Literally,
Right.
There ain't no body cleanse for that besides brain dump. So that has been a big, big part of my season where I'm in right now, where I do that.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much, because I really do feel like this is good. You've got a lot of your story that our team is going to relate to. So does anybody have any questions by chance for Annie?
I have a quick one. Hi, Annie. I'm Melissa. It's nice to meet you. In regards to your leg that doesn't do social media, do they do a lot of in-person events? I know that they do WhatsApp and Telegram, but do they do in-person since they're such a tight community?
So some of them do, but even with, okay, so some of them do in person. And even though they live in this community together, a lot are more open to doing WhatsApp events than being in person, especially because this leg went emerald when in 2020, at the end of 2020, right? The first leg, right? And most of them were from California, and we know how California was with lockdowns and strict, right? So there was no in-person events. It was literally all just WhatsApp events. And I do have them downloading the boards apps and getting event ideas in there. So that is one way that they grow, but they mostly don't do in-home events. That's a great question.
Fascinating. I kept telling you that. I was like, I'm so fascinated. There is a whole nother world out there selling Plexus, and we did not even know it's like an underground, It's so cool. But dispels those myths that, you don't know anybody else and all the things. So anybody else have any questions?
I do. Hi, thank you so much, Annie. My name is Kim and I live in Tampa, Florida. We actually have a very strong, large Amish community about an hour hour away in Sarasota. So, like, just randomly, I cannot go plop myself in the middle of Sarasota and get to know them. Do you have any suggestions of ways, or I mean, because they don't do social media, although I did look and there's a bunch of Amish, lifestyle people. What do you think? You think that's something that, you got to know somebody to know somebody? Is that really the best way, or?
Okay, so they don't do in-home events, but you mentioning this now, they do farmers markets.
See, and that's what I looked in there.
Right. So if you had a place of being in one of those, right, if you can get one of their eyes open to your products, that's what you need, right? So if you had a table or a booth at some event where you knew a lot of them were going to come to, that would be a really great way to open up conversations. Even get WhatsApp. If you have WhatsApp, right, get WhatsApp numbers and exchange that.
Which I do. I do a lot on WhatsApp. Yeah. So
because you know how we meet people and we say, oh, what's your Instagram handle? What's your Facebook handle? You can't really do that with them, right? But you get creative and say, oh, what's your WhatsApp?
Right. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
I do have a question. You had said that one gal doesn't have a lot of the people don't have emails. So how does she sign them up with an account without emails? Or do they create one, or?
She creates one specifically for each person.
Oh, she does. that she basically monitors and gets their information, right? Is that kind of how does it? Okay. All right. Well, thank you. If I don't want to cut y'all short, but anybody else, Michelle, I don't want to put you on the spot. Okay. Well, Annie, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. I really appreciate it. This was interesting information that I know everybody's going to want to listen to. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And thank you for doing the swap. I can't wait for you to come onto our team in January. We're really excited.
You are? Okay. I'm getting ready. January. All right. Well, thank you. All right. You guys have a wonderful night, and God bless y'all. Bye.
Bye.